record and admit my luck. Okay, so the summary of what I was saying is that manufacturing is very much in the post-COVID news because many other the three segments which we have right in our economy, the three major segments: manufacturing, agriculture, and services. So services is, a lot of services are actually happening because they are essential services, and among the non-essential services also there's a large part of the services is happening because of connectivity. People are working from home, but two segments which has significantly got affected because of COVID is agriculture and manufacturing. Now agriculture is something which is little invisible to us, distant from us, but there are enough indication that there is significant challenge there. The migrant levels have moved away and there are not enough people to harvest the crop which is ready. And United Nations has said that we may have famines across the world in biblical proportions. So that is something which we'll have a look at some other day. But the other one is the manufacturing, which is but for a very small segment, which is the pharmaceutical sector and few others which were making things which are of help to the medical community, like sanitizers or gloves or personal protection equipments or masks. The the manufacturing sector has completely closed down, and the outlook is really bad. So we'll get into some of these numbers. Globally, it is looking very bad. And probably but for the agriculture, which I am sure the governments across the world will work very seriously to make sure that the crop production in the world doesn't drastically reduce, because that will obviously generate famine and riots. And the services sector, which will find many innovative ways to some way survive. The manufacturing sector is one sector which will really suffer out of COVID. That is what it looks like. But let's see what the numbers and everything is looking to be. So this is what we have covered so far. We have looked at education sector, retail, transportation. Today we are looking at manufacturing, and we have also looked at the genesis of this corona or COVID, and we have looked at the global and local economic impact of this in a very macro term. So let's move on, and we will, as I said, that we'll probably have at least five to seven more sessions like this to cover the entire gamut, at least from the business perspective. And then we'll probably try to get some experts who can talk of some other aspects, the social aspects, the geopolitical aspects. So this is a survey which I found from PwC. This is a survey which has been done by PwC for the National Association of Manufacturers, USA, but I am sure the findings of the survey will be very similar to what is there in the minds of manufacturing sector in our country also, at least the large manufacturing sector, MSME, micro, mini, and those which are much smaller and much more vulnerable may have a little bit different view, but this is what it is. So obviously, the largest concern is the financial impact and the global recession. Now, global recession may be a big concern for these manufacturing units in US, because you see in US only something like 13 million people are in manufacturing sector, whereas US is the second largest manufacturer in the whole world after China. So their per capita production is much higher, and a lot of it has global connotation in terms of Either the input is coming from some other country or the output is going to some other country. So it's very globally connected, and global recession is a very big concern there. But we will also not be isolated from global recession, because it will automatically lead to India centric recession. And the third concern, which I think will be a much bigger concern in India context, I could not find any survey which has been done with Indian manufacturers. So I am putting this as a proxy for what probably the concern in India. The third is about people, because a lot of manufacturing jobs we know is actually inside. You know, you have to be physically present. You cannot do it remotely, unlike the services sector. And the other one is, even if you can reach to the manufacturing units, what will you produce? Because the market is drying up everywhere. You know, we have seen a lot of segments where we don't foresee any demand in recent future. For example, luxury goods, right? So Bangladesh, for example, is the largest manufacturer of garments in the world. India is one of the largest manufacturers. 3 million people in India are working in textile sector. A large part of it is exported, and lot of it is going as under luxury brands, and there is huge amount of cancellation already in the order. So what will happen to this this particular sector? Then so that is what it is. And then, you know, we will see some other things which they are talking about, and which is fundamentally you know, we can all guess. But coming back to it, manufacturers across the world, and India is no exception, is very worried about the three things: that recession, lack of demand, and what will happen to the employees. You know, in Indian context, we might think that, you know, it's and we'll see it later, and this is actually can be a very big change in terms of how we look at employees in India in the manufacturing sector. Because we know that manufacturing sector is, we'll see some numbers, but manufacturing sector is very, very small. You know, most of the entities are very small. That has been kept small because we protect a lot of businesses under the list of MSME sectors. So one has to be small to operate. There are some 8,000 items which are protected, which only MSME can produce. And the other is that if you reach certain number of employees, for example, for PF, I understand the cutoff is 25 employees. So people try to make, you know, employees maximum 24, and then they have a lot of this temporary or the daily labor, as you call, as the workforce. And there are instances of a family working as temporary labor for the same manufacturer for 3 generations, 4 generations, but they have never been permanent, because, you know, the organization doesn't want to take them on the rolls, because they will otherwise come under the purview of the Labor Commissioner, PF Commissioner, and many other laws, which is very difficult at times to handle. And this is not restricted only to the small organizations. It is prevalent in the large organizations also, like Tata's have been, you know, outside the public sector enterprises. Tata's have been using a large number of contract laborers. Maruti, you know, if you look at Gurgaon plant, I understand that they have 800 executives and 4,500 temporary workers, right? So so we may feel that, you know, these temporary workers, you know, why to care? Why, or, you know, if they are not really on our rolls, we can just get rid of them if things are not in demand. But there are 3 things. One is, of course, the government doesn't want it to happen, and there is a lot of pressure not to sack anybody. We have seen a lot of communication from the government saying that you can't, you know, let go people, you cannot, you know, touch their salary or whatever. So government wants to maintain a status quo because things are already under a lack of, you know, there is a lot of uncertainty on other fronts itself. Second is, you know, the social strife that it will create, right? So if Maruti today let go these 4,500 people, they will definitely not find it easy going forward to survive in that area. Because they will be branded as somebody not to be trusted. And third, and that is very important, because of this large number of exposure to a particular company, these people, though they are temporary, many of them have gained some skills which are very unique and which is not very easy to replace. So, Anand Mahindra has given a statement saying that um, laborers have moved out and we are not able to work. These as simple as people who do loading and unloading. Those laborers have moved out. It looks like, for me and you, it may look like some simple task, but there is a process there. There is a input output ratio, and if you suddenly replace the loaders or unloaders with newbies who doesn't know, your throughput will suddenly reduce by 50%, and your whole production will suffer, right? So you really want those laborers to come back. And in fact, Anand Mahindra has said that probably this is the time where we'll start thinking about what we can really do for our sorry, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, okay. I think there was a power came and went. So
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So Anand Mahindra said that probably this will be time where we will start taking our contract levels more seriously, and this has never really happened. We sometimes take these people as not something very important, but I have seen in my personal experience in Bangalore a few years back, had a scare that northeastern people had to run away. 500,000 of them had to run away because there was some disturbance in the city. And the people from Northeast are predominantly working in the security sector, the hospitality sector, the beauty sector. Situation reached such a crisis that the owners of those sectors actually went to Assam and northeastern states and personally went and met them and pleaded with them to come back, right? So, and I think this time the situation across the country is really, really serious and going to affect manufacturing in a big way. Let's move on to the next slide. These are some of the thoughts which Industry Week has been saying that, if this happens, right, now they have talked a little from the perspective of the North American and European perspective. Now, may not be fully relevant to us fully, but they are partially, and I will come back to this a little later. But we have to understand that this whole manufacturing journey of the world in the historical perspective. So we all know that almost 30 years back, much before 50 years back, much before that technology outsourcing started in the world, we had this manufacturing outsourcing which started where Japan and US started outsourcing to the Southeast Asian countries. China came into picture a little later. Initially it was Taiwan, Malaysia, and Korea, and then China, and it has moved from country to country based on the cost advantage. But as in the case with the IT, what has happened is over a period of time, the people who are doing this, fulfilling these outsourcing requirements, have built very strong systems, process, methodologies, and fine-tuned the whole manufacturing. And especially for manufacturing, countries like China has created a huge ecosystem of suppliers, which is not very easy to replicate. Now today, we all know that this is this Texmaco. If somebody can help me, not Texmaco, the company which is manufacturing Apple phones, right? I'm just forgetting the name. You might say, I'll not give you the business, I will shift it to somewhere else. But there are maybe 10,000 manufacturers of the components around that, Foxconn, Foxconn, not the Texmaco, Foxconn. Today I might say, somebody at Apple might say, I will not get it manufactured in Foxconn, but Foxconn is surrounded by 10,000 component manufacturers who are supplying real-time components using this Japanese methodology of just-in-time, which keeps the prices down, the inventory down, the cost down, the inventory down, and also ensure that the product which has come out is flawless. Now that application of that is very, very difficult. Though for a long time, US had been thinking about it. It's not just Trump who is saying that we are dependent on China and Southeast Asia for a large part of our manufacturing. And some time back, I think Shubhranshu was talking about that even India, 70% of our pharmaceuticals come from China. For the US, I think it is 85%. In fact, China Daily has written some articles saying that in a theoretical situation we can choke USA of all their drugs, and that is a level of control they have. But for a while, with the automation coming in, there had been a lot of effort to take back manufacturing to these countries, that countries like US and Europe had been saying. And as a matter of fact, automation has made taking back the manufacturing, if not job creation, as an attractive proposition. And that has been coupled with few other things. The shale oil which has been discovered in US, the energy cost also came down. Of course, US knows that oil supply by China has been very good in buying in bulk and long-term contracts. So the fuel cost and all of that also came down. So few factors have been positive, and US has been trying to take back a lot of manufacturing, and Europe. But it is expected now that with China being the hub of the whole thing that has happened, and the suspicion that they have not been very transparent, and we also don't know what is the situation in China. If you look at it, doesn't really add up. It looks like except Wuhan, nowhere is nobody has been affected, whereas in every other country it spreads across the country. So there is a lot of uncertainty beyond whether they are transparent or not. So maybe a lot of manufacturing will be taken back by these countries with the help of robots. But that is not going to be just as easy as I talked about the component manufacturers. It's not just the manufacturing, the final manufacturer, but you have to create the ecosystem. And that is where, even if you look at Maruti, they have 500 component manufacturers, and that's why they are so successful in India. Without that, Maruti would not have been able to produce anything in India, which now they are exporting to other countries. India is now a bigger manufacturer of Maruti cars than anywhere else in the world. Maruti means Suzuki cars, right? But automation looks to be an interesting proposition, and it will happen. But then I just want to tell that, even China has moved to automation in a big way. Foxconn has had 1 million, employees at one point of time, but they have reduced it by 400,000 because they have also started automating. And Foxconn CEO has gone on record saying that I will rather like to replace my people with robots because they never ask for any leave and they never complain. So this automation is not restricted only to US. So it will not be that easy, but then that will happen. But the bigger thing which will happen is that because of this extreme, cost cutting and cost optimization and stuff like that, what has happened is the supply chains across the world has become very, 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 robust. People have gone for, single source. As I mentioned, that almost everything Apple is manufacturing, assembling is coming from Foxconn. Apple, of course, manufactures all its chip, but if you look at Samsung, it takes all its chip from Broadcom. If you look at the Redmi's of the world or OnePlus, they only take everything from Snapdragon. Sorry, not Snapdragon. The other one, just a Malaysia-based company, just forgetting the name. So they have made it so refined and so much, integrated and very hard. Now, suddenly when this COVID happened, the whole system actually collapsed, right? Because there's somebody in that whole chain has got affected, then nobody is able to do anything, right? So the decoupling of the supply chain happened, and people will probably again go back to multiple suppliers and have a portfolio so that, the risk is decoupled. They will, invest much more on data analysis to see, much before how the supply chain is performing, rather than being caught with the egg on the face one day that, this particular company in Wuhan. By the way, Wuhan is a very big manufacturing hub, may not be for Wuhan produce 20% of chemicals of China, for example. So anybody who is dependent on chemicals from Wuhan is now in a stunned turtle, right? So how do you save your data infrastructure? How do you create this mirror structure everywhere? How do you analyze the data much faster, much better? And of course, the things which everybody is talking about, that how do you reduce people on the floor? Now this is of course something, the last point is something which is being pushed very hard right now because of COVID, and it's happening everywhere. And we have yesterday seen examples of TCS saying that they will have only 1/4 of the workforce in the office. And manufacturing companies also are now thinking many ways, how to reduce. Do you have to bring everybody in office? Do you bring people every alternate days? Or the experts, should we train an individual for multiple tasks and keep the experts at home and use methodologies like digital twin or VR, augmented reality or virtual reality to guide them, so that one person is on the floor, or maybe a handful of the person on the floor, but the others are available on from home, but then the production goes on. So there are a lot of this thinking is now coming again over and above this whole movement towards decoupling the supply chain and reducing the dependence on one particular producer, whether it is an end customer or components, so that in future similar situations people are not caught on the wrong foot. So these are some of the things which I have been talking about. I just wanted to give some numbers. Robots, robots per 10,000 workers in Germany, South Korea, Singapore numbers are here. US a little behind. I was reading that even Czech Republic, which is a outsourcing hub in the Eastern Europe, has more robots per 10,000 workers than US. So it is expected that US will now probably employ more robots to bring in more manufacturing. But this is what it is. So this will probably bring uncertainty to the capitalists, the people who have invested capitals, but this is not going to generate new jobs. Now the whole idea of bringing back the manufacturing along with the job is not going to happen. Now this is very important. So obviously jobs will be lost in the outsourcing hubs like China, but the corresponding jobs will not be created in places like US or Europe. The digital twin is a concept which was essentially familiarized by, the term was made popular by this Dassault. Dassault is the manufacturer of the Rafale jet, the same group. But then it is like, it is essentially replicating everything on your computer, right? And, try to do a lot of the design which you would have done physically, digitally. Now, of course, if you want to do these sort of things, you have to create the infrastructure at home. You have to have, powerful desktops, workstations with your employees, with good connectivity, security, so that data doesn't get stolen on the way. You have to obviously build the NDAs with the employees so that they don't run away with your design. But then technically feasible, but many more things, including investments, are there. Artificial, augmented reality, which is AR, VR, virtual reality. I have seen, and I'm sure all of you would have seen. Now you can wear a glass, even a low-end 20,000 rupees infrastructure can let you go inside a car and see the entire simulation of how a car operates. Now, maybe we'll see that the expert is sitting at home wearing the virtual reality infra, and then somebody is opening the car and talking on phone to the expert and finding out what's going on, and he is essentially going through the car model. These are some of the thoughts which people are talking about. Everybody is in thinking mode, like including you and me. Let's see how it processes. Now, all of it will require a lot of investments, and it will result in a lot of loss of jobs. Now that will be another challenge which is beyond the purview of current discussions. I just took a snapshot of India. These are some of this data which you have seen. India, as we saw that services is the largest segment of India. Second is manufacturing. Manufacturing is around 18% of our GDP. But with a lot of people, especially the blue collar workers, beyond the white collars like us and the farmers, everybody else is in manufacturing. And if you see on the right side, a lot of these sectors, which is like automobile, if you look at the overall construct of the economy, which is manufacturing, agriculture, and services, automobile, textile, metals and mining, oil and gas, though it is energy, they will all come under manufacturing. And you can see that, anything upwards of 30% and above contraction is expected. So manufacturing is going to suffer, which we discussed. Now, so this is the manufacturing data, what is manufacturing: drugs, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, food processing. We may have, automobile will surely, suffer. There's no doubt about it. It has already been suffering before the recession, before COVID. Now discretionary spend is going to be much lesser. The drugs and pharma will probably see upswing. We'll have to see. Others, chemical, food processing, electrical equipment, cement, textile, electronics, probably all will see a downward trend. But the worst affected will clearly be the automobile sector, and correspondingly it will affect the input sector. So it will affect, for example, the steel industry, because that is supply for the automobile sector. There's some numbers on the right side. These numbers little dated 2017, but you can see that 45% of the small enterprises are only having the owners, right? So what it gives, that it is very, very fractured, very, very small, and they have very little resources. Very, very little resources. So if things go bad, and we know the demonetization, GST has already created tremendous amount of stress, and on the top of that, the COVID has come in. And if there is no significant incentive that is coming from the government, whether in terms of giving them the salaries, as the Europe and US is thinking of giving for 3-month salary for all the employees, or investing, giving them loans and all, I think this is in for real bad times. But having said that, there is one thing which people are very hopeful, which is that India may replace China. Now that China is under a lot of cloud, and it's not going to go away very easily. But if you look at the numbers, global stack up of numbers of manufacturing, and this is in billions. So China's manufacturing is 2 trillion. So China is a $16 trillion economy, out of which manufacturing is 2, which is like 1 by 8, which is 12%. We are at 18%. So they are also significantly into manufacturing. US is also very close, almost 2 trillion. In 21 trillion is their revenue, so around 10%. Okay, they have given some numbers. So what is this national output? Maybe I'm comparing as GDP. They are talking of GNP, gross national product. Maybe, I'm just thinking. But any which way, we are at 298 billion, which is, roughly, I'll not say 1 by 10 times, but maybe 1 by 7 times of China today. On the right side is the number of people who are employed in this sector. India has, what is India? As 11% of our people are in manufacturing. Now, a good part of India is that we have enough young people. 60% of our population is below 40. Maybe now it is reduced, but we have enough young population, and a lot of them are actually in some sort of hidden unemployment. They are not having the right job. They are doing things because they have nothing else to do. So we have the workforce, young workforce, which can take up manufacturing in a big way, of course, provided they are given the right training and all these issues are taken care. But India lacks dramatically, and I am saying dramatically with a big D, in the basic R&D on the manufacturing side. So even in textile, which is, the age-old, India's textile industry goes back to maybe, you know, the silk routes used to export silk to China, thousands. So we are, sorry, I think suddenly it came back to this. So let me go back to the screen. Yeah, so we don't have even a single equipment of any value, even in textile industry, which we are having technology of our own. So maybe one thing is what, you know, there's a lot of this coming, thousands of people want to come to India and all of that. We'll have to see. We'll have to fight with two things. Of course, China will fight back, and it's not easy to replicate China's caliber, even if we don't trust them. They have a huge network. Second is this motion to take it back to the home countries through, and not employing local people, but essentially employing the automation and bring the cost at least at the same level. Third is we'll have to compete with the likes of Vietnam and other countries which are also very efficient in outsourced manufacturing. But this seems to be area which I hope that government of India will take seriously, and maybe there will be an opportunity for us, which may offset some of these problems of Indian manufacturing sector in near term, if we can do something. Uh, this is where we stand now. We see the large firms are working out, you know, alternatives. You are always hearing, you know, big guns like Anand Mahindra and all always talking. Rajiv Bajaj is talking. Rahul Bajaj is talking. But we don't know what MSMEs are doing. They don't have resource. They don't have a voice. Labor has migrated. We talked about it, and the value chain has broken. That will be a big task to bring them back. And this has also now become, COVID, as you know, is beyond a financial and disease. It's beyond a healthcare and financial issue. Now you are, you know, seeing a lot of people are, you know, not allowing cremation. You know, people are asking, you know, not allowing doctors to stay. We are getting attacked. So, you know, now it is taking a little bit nasty turn, that this fear. Now, I want to highlight this because if things become worse, the intent of every individual who will be threatened is to, including myself and yourself, will be to go back to your roots. You will feel most secure where you come from, right? And the most vulnerable part of a city are the urban poor. And if they start getting threatened like this, they will never come back, right? You know, some are using, obviously diverting to make something else. I saw some are making sanitizers, or some are making masks and all, but that will not give them any return. It just probably can keep some people busy. But good thing is the labor law may be reformed after a long time. Maybe some of this downsizing will be allowed. Unorganized sectors probably will see a consolidation because they are not viable. But most importantly, I'm hopeful we'll see some labor rights protection, and industries will start treating people better than just yet another, you know, bus. As somebody, one friend of mine used to say that, it's like a bus. You have missed one, into another one will come. But then suddenly people are realizing that is low value, low cost contract labors also very, very vital. So I'll stop here. Oh, okay. I think I sort of missed this. This is something I'll share with you, I said. So, you know, this is a Toyota example. It's a very interesting thing they have done. They have made a manual. So they have done a journey map. So I have given a sort of illustration, which may not be for Toyota, which is like they are seeing that how does the people, you know, their employees, what is the day. So first they start from home, come to the bus, you know, uh, so before starting, they are asking that, can you do a self check even when you are at home? Can you please check your temperature? And how probably they will implement this, that, you know, once you come to office, there will be checked again, and if there is a fever, obviously you will get a caution. And if it continues as a trend that every other day this is happening, then obviously the person will be, you know, getting some sort of, you know, maybe warning. Then you get onto the bus, you know, everybody will be standing apart, and everybody's, you know, temperature will be checked, staggered sitting in the bus. Then when you come to the gate, you know, there'll be a distance. Then there's some other thing they said, that everybody's cart has to be 2 centimeters away. That cart should not touch the the swipe machine. And if you see, this is very similar to what will happen to our university. I mean, we'll also have people getting up, getting into the bus, sitting in the bus, coming, and then going through the whole process, going to class, how students will see it, going to canteen, how will you see it, how will you meet, how will the meetings happen. Like, I don't foresee that 20 people will get into the boardroom and meet going forward, right? So boardroom, so maybe we'll have to meet in the auditorium and all that, or this is what I was saying, that we have to start thinking. But Toyota can do all this. They can, increase the number of buses by 2 times. They can, increase, more personnel at the gate, more swipe machine at the gate. But what about the small players? What they will do? Again, that's a question. We don't have any answer, but then let's see. I saw a very interesting video I'll send to you. I didn't put here. There's one rickshaw driver in Calcutta auto driver has broken his auto into 4 parts. 4 passengers can sit and nobody is in touch with anybody. They are completely isolated from each other. So, there'll be a lot of innovation at ground level also to manage this. Yeah, I stop here, and maybe today we can discuss. We have